Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel once again. So if you watched my video that came out earlier today, you know I'm back. Not as frequently as I used to be, but I'm still back. I'm going to start doing album reviews again, but just of the ones that hit me in a certain way. And as I said in my last video, I'm not going to go back and do any of the albums that have come out already this year, but this record is one that came out just this week and is from one of my favourite bands on the planet, and they have been ever since I first heard them. That is the new album from Moose Blood. So let's get a little bit into that record. This is a record that I had very high expectations for due to the previous two records. Those two records are some of the most emotional records I've heard in a long time of listening to music, and especially the last one, Blush, I thought was just a true standout of great emo songwriting. And while I love the first record and I love Blush, they are both very unique records to each other. Probably more in the vocal style than anything else. And so going into this record, I just wanted another record of great songs from Moose Blood, and I'm very happy to say that we definitely got that. And this record's full of some absolute banging songs, and that emotional connection that Moose Blood have always had with their audience is still there. But I do feel like it's been dulled a little bit due to the production. So the record opens up with Haven't I Told You Enough, and it opens up exactly how I wanted a Moose Blood record to open up. It comes in with this great instrumental with a really awesome guitar lead line going over the top that just sounds massive, and Moose Blood have always had this amazing ability to portray so much emotion within their instrumentals. It's a very rare thing. Not many bands know how to master it, and Moose Blood have been nailing it from day one, and Haven't I Told You Enough is the perfect example of that. The vocals all the way throughout the song are awesome, so catchy, but it's those guitar lines for me that really make that track stand out. Something about this record that really stood out to me is the change in Eddie's vocals. And that's not due to his performance of the vocals, but more due to the production. If you remember from the first record, the vocals were produced very raw, and there are a lot of moments in that record where he's not hitting the notes properly, but it adds so much emotion due to that being the case. And then on Blush, we started to hear the production get a bit more slick, the vocals become a bit more polished, and while there were still those really emotional parts throughout that record where his voice was breaking, it wasn't as frequent as in the first record. For sure, he definitely became a better vocalist between those two records, but the production style definitely had something to do with that. And coming out of Blush, I was worried that they were going to polish his vocals even more than they had on Blush, and on this record they do that. They absolutely do that. But they still have those moments throughout the record where they allow the voice breaks to come through. They allow him to just fall shy of a few notes every now and then just to add that emotional quality to the music. There's something really great about rock music where, and Dave Grohl talks about this all the time, it's not about playing perfectly, it's about playing like you're a real band. And they definitely capture moments like that on this record, but they are much fewer than the first two. So that's something that on this record I don't have a particular problem with. But if it gets even more polished on the next one, then I'm going to start having a problem with it, because Eddie has always had such a great emotional voice, and to see that kind of get smoothed off a bit as the records go on is a bit of a shame, but those emotional moments are definitely still there, especially on songs like It's Too Much and on All the Time. All the Time is, for me, I think my favourite song on the record, but It's Too Much comes right up there with it, and It's Too Much is probably the most emotional song on the record. I really love the guitar playing on It's Too Much. I really love how the song feels drawn out and open, but it doesn't feel like it goes for too long, and it doesn't feel like it drags. And Eddie's vocal performance on the track is definitely the best on the entire record. The first single, Talk in Your Sleep, is pretty much a classic Moose Blood song. It's very much like Honey was on Blush. Very much, definitely the best choice for a first single, I think. Definitely got people ready to go with this record, and definitely made people think that, yes, this album is going to be, classic Moose Blood. There's a lot of bands that put out their first singles from records and it's something radically different and people get a bit worried. And I think that's a very cool thing every now and then. Like when Parkway Drive put out Vice Grip for their first single on their last record and everyone was freaking out. I think that song is amazing, but everyone was freaking out, and then the record comes out and it's got those elements of Vice Grip, but it's a completely different record. And Moose Blood have chosen the opposite, and that's to release a song that is very much them and doesn't really show much experimentation, but is definitely a classic Moose Blood song. And there's a lot of experimentation on this record, and it's not really shown in that song, but as a standalone song, Talking Asleep is fantastic. Something that I've noticed on this record a lot is that the melodies are getting a lot better, and that's something that we've seen as Moose Blood have gone along in their career, and that's obviously something that's going to happen as you get better as songwriters. And on this record there are some terrific melodies. The choruses are the best they've ever been, and again, Eddie's vocals, I think, writing wise, are the best they've ever been, even if they've been smoothened a little bit. And something that I was wondering going into this record was whether the drums were going to be the same, because Moose Blood had to kick out their last drummer due to some very, very horrible allegations that came out about him. And so going into this record, something that's always stood out to me about Moose Blood is how great their drum lines are. And I have to say, for those worrying about that, the drumming on this record is fantastic. Their new drummer really sits into the position really well, writes some great drum lines throughout the entire record, and it's definitely not a worry from here on out for me. And there's only one problem I really have with this record, and that is the song You Left in the Worst Way. I feel like this song feels incomplete. It just feels like a song that they really wanted to put on the record, but it wasn't quite finished, but the deadline was coming up, and so they just, finished it off real quick. It ends really abruptly. It feels like it doesn't really go anywhere, and it's just a miss of a song for me. It's one of the biggest misses Moose Blood have ever had, I think. And while I think there are elements of the song that are really great, it's just that it feels incomplete. And as someone who writes music myself, I can't imagine putting an incomplete song out there. I'm sure they don't feel like it's incomplete, but for me, I just think it sounds like there were a few extra things they needed to do to it to really finish that song off. But overall, I think this is a fantastic record from Moose Blood. I think they're continuing to get better as songwriters. The melodies are getting better, and the only real problems I have is with You Left in the Worst Way, and just a little bit of the production getting a bit too clean and polished. But other than that, this record is fantastic, so definitely go and check it out. I'll put a link to one of the music videos down in the description, but hey, thank you for watching my first album review since November. It's been a long time. I'm glad to be back. This isn't going to be all the time, only a few videos a month, but I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. All right, fresh kinds.